Well, hi there, I'm Eitan, and welcome back to the Wix Wiz. Today I'm just going to hop right in, no intro, no nothing, and we're talking about website maintenance and its importance. And this is something that I come across with clients all the time during consultations when I'm taking on a new client and taking the first look at their site. And this is true for static sites, but it's especially true for sites that have code. Code needs to be maintained. Websites need to be maintained. You cannot just build a website and hope that it will last forever. You cannot write code and hope that it will work forever. Uh, these things need to be constantly reviewed and constantly maintained. And it's especially common with people who are using, maybe code snippets that they found around on the internet. And it could be a year old, it could be 2 years old, and it's stuff that is outdated and could potentially lead to bugs on your site, even if it's working at this very moment. And even if your code was written by a professional developer, if it was written a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it could be that it was the most current and best version of that code. But now there are new modules and there are new updates, and this is something that you need to keep in mind when you are creating a website in general, and especially when you're adding a custom code to your website, whether it's on Wix or whatever platform it may be. And I just want to give you a real life example of this, and this is something that I've seen on quite a few sites, and it is the outdated Wix users module. So if you take a look here, I'm on my Wix website, and here I have my Velo code editor open. And you see that in my onReady function, I'm using the Wix users module to get the current user, and I'm logging it. And this code works, okay? If I go into my site logs and I check it out, you can see here that I'm getting back this user, role visitor, and this is working. But if I go here into the code and I kind of highlight it with my cursor, you see that there is a warning here that this code is depreciated. And depreciated basically means that this module is no longer being maintained. There is a newer, better module that might be able to do things that this module can't. And even though this module is still working, it does have the risk of going out of use at some point, which means that your website would completely break down. Again, Wix as a platform or any platform that you might be using or any code base or module that you might be using tend to be quite responsible when they are updating their code base and give fair warning and create updates that don't break previous things that you built. But it is possible. It could be that a breaking update will come out at some point, and that is why, even though this Wix users was the module to use 2 years ago, it is currently not the module to use, and if it's being used on your site, you'd want to switch it out slowly for the new module just to make sure that you are using the most updated versions of the Velo API. And you want to do this sooner than later because you don't want to wait till that last moment when things break down. And if you go here to read more, then that would take you right here to the Velo documentation, and you'd see that this is no longer in the documentation. So let's say if you wanted to add a new feature to your website and your whole system is based off of this old module, it would be very hard for a developer or for yourself to add this new feature because they wouldn't have any reference documentation on which to build, even if they wanted to. So that is why it's critical to not fire your developer because it'll make them very sad, but also because you need to do maintenance on your website when you're building a custom code solution, when you're budgeting for that custom code solution, whether you're building it yourself or you're hiring someone, keep in mind that you're going to want to have someone take a look at a peek at that every so often, every month, 2 months, half a year, and just make sure that everything is clean and up to date. And this can happen even if you are not on a platform, if you're not using something that's strictly a Velo module. So just to give you an example, I asked ChatGPT to just list some comparisons between, old JavaScript, quote unquote, and updates that happened over the past recent years, aka ES6. And you can check out this list of updates. And again, nothing here necessarily breaks. Okay, so if you're using quote unquote outdated code, That doesn't mean that your website will break. JavaScript will still run and compile, but you're not using the best and the cleanest and the most concise code that will be easy for people to build on in the future or to deal with if there is an issue. So that is why you should always take maintenance into consideration when you are building your website, when you're hiring someone to build your website. And yeah, this is just something I wanted to share from my recent experience kind of working as a web developer and building custom code solutions for Wix websites. I really do want to empower you to do things yourself and explore and learn, but make sure that you're doing so responsibly and you're always using the most updated modules that you can. And even if you're watching a tutorial, even if you're watching one of my tutorials, now it's 2023. If you're watching one of my videos in 2025, then you might want to do some research and make sure that the code that I was using was the most updated version. Maybe there's a better way to do it now. Maybe there's a newer module. So yeah, so thanks for watching. I'd love to hear about your experience with website maintenance, things that you've come across, struggles, questions that you might have about how to do this in the best way. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And if you really like this video and you want to see more like it, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And I try to put out new videos weekly, sometimes even two a week. Yeah, so you can follow along. And thanks for watching.